Don Lemon has been squeezed by the feds. Trump has named Kevin Warsh as his nominee for chairman of the Federal Reserve, and we are tracking the possibility of a government shutdown today. This is Scott Jennings, Common Sense for the American People. I am on the mend. Thanks to Jen Horn for filling in for me yesterday, and thank you so much to everyone for tuning in as we close out the first month of our new 2-hour show here on Salem. In January alone, we had the Vice President, the Speaker of the House, dozens of members of Congress, administration officials, pundits, and writers. And most importantly, we had you, the listener. You have made us the fastest growing radio news program in all of America. So thank you for supporting Common Sense for the American People. At 33 minutes past the hour today, my good friend Rich Lowry from the National Review joins us to discuss the news of the day. And in our second hour, we have our traditional Friday punditry with Rob Bluey and also the one and only Officer Brandon Tatum joining us from Arizona. But first, lots of breaking news today. This morning, the president announced his new pick for Fed chairman. Kevin Warsh is him. If confirmed, he'll replace Jerome Powell, whose term as chair ends in May. Warsh is a former member of the Fed board, and he spent years in the private sector. His nomination is earning praise from across the spectrum. Markets like it. And now we'll see what questions await him in his confirmation process. North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis has pledged to hold any Fed nominee over the DOJ's recent subpoena sent to Jerome Powell. We'll see how that plays out. Also breaking this morning, and while you slept last night, the FBI arrested former CNN News anchor Don Lemon in Beverly Hills, California. Lemon was indicted by a federal grand jury for being part of an angry mob that stormed a Minneapolis Baptist church the other day. Lemon is charged with conspiracy against rights as well as violating the FACE Act. We'll keep you posted as this story develops, but as Don Lemon himself once told us all, cut 12. Do we have Don Lemon?
Don't people in America have the constitutional right to protest?
Nobody
Let's pause
is
this.
above the law. Nobody's above the law.
We're a well-oiled machine here, folks. Don Lemon says no one is above the law, and we couldn't have said it better ourselves. Democrats and folks on the left are melting down over this arrest. Lemon casting himself as a journalist and therefore untouchable. It seems to me that the position of the left in America right now is that if you're holding a cell phone or any kind of a camera, you can break any law that you want on First Amendment grounds. That's what they say about these radical agitators in Minnesota. Oh, well, look, he was holding a cell phone. Doesn't he have a right to film things with a cell phone? Well, sure, but from a safe distance, not while you are simultaneously disrupting or putting your hands on federal law enforcement or kicking out the taillights of their vehicles or blocking the street. You get the picture. Holding a camera doesn't absolve you from having to follow the law. Here's how I called it on CNN last night, cut 13.
The word impede. Don't people in America have the constitutional right to protest? Yes or no?
Yes. They do. I would just point out to you, though, that in a court case in Minnesota this week, there was a district court ruling that was overturned by the 8th Circuit, and the panel of the 8th Circuit said they had reviewed hours and hours of footage from all these supposed protests. And even though some people were doing protected speech and protected protests, that much of the time it crossed the line, that it was not protest activity. So it's not all just protesting. Some of it is crossing the line. Some of it is designed to impede federal law enforcement, and that is a crime, is it not? Yeah.
Protesting is one thing. Violating people's rights, storming churches, impeding federal law enforcement is quite another. All of this political vigilanteism that has emerged on the left was predictable. Last July, there was a news article in Axios with the following headline, quote, "There needs to be blood." Democrat voters tell them to get shot in Trump resistance push. The article stated that Democratic voters wanted their representatives to break the rules, fight dirty, and not be afraid to get hurt. even getting shot, they asked for. Let me repeat the demands of the Democratic base. There needs to be blood. And that's what they've gotten, isn't it? With the deaths of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, whatever you think of the conduct of federal officers in these incidents, the radicalized Democratic base, in fact, got its wish. There has been blood on the streets of Minneapolis. Mission accomplished, I suppose. And people like Minnesota Governor Tim Walz are more than happy to keep the blood flowing. Walz has told The Atlantic magazine this week that he believes what's happening in Minneapolis is a modern-day Fort Sumter. You know, the place where the first shots of the American Civil War were fired. Although mainstream media has largely ignored Walz's comments, which were made in a very public way to The Atlantic, I informed the panel about it last night on CNN. Here's cut 5.
Well, wait, I have to say,
Yes.
he said today that he thought maybe this was like the next Fort Sumter. And Governor Walz said that, and previously he had referenced the Battle of Gettysburg. And so when I hear that kind of language coming out of a governor, this sort of fantasizing about an American Civil War, first of all, I don't think he stopped to consider who that makes him in this entire endeavor. Jefferson Davis, spoiler alert. And number two, if you wanted more calm, if you wanted a little bit more cooperation, if you wanted to ratchet things down, you would not be referencing the first shots of the Civil War and maybe thinking that we're in the middle of another one. You agree or disagree?
We don't want to get into a debate about political rhetoric, I don't think, because there's too much.
Do you like the Fort Sumter language?
I don't like it, but I don't like a lot of things that I hear in our political atmosphere. But I just constantly am baffled by when it is directed at conservatives, they suddenly want to clutch their little pearls. And then when they constantly egg and ramp up the...
So you do like it?
No, I don't like it at all. But what I'm saying is...
So are you clutching your own pearls?
No, what I'm saying is call it on both sides, which I'll never do. See, you only want to... You only want to react...
But then,
yeah, because like you want to pearl clutch on that side, but when your side does
I don't wear pearls.
You don't want to...
Are you clutching your own pearls?
I will take his necklace. Can I give it?
Now, previously, Walz had encouraged his radical base to fight like they were at Gettysburg. Now he's invoking Fort Sumter. I used to call this man a buffoon, but it is apparent that he is clearly simply deranged, openly fantasizing about a new American Civil War, and he's casting himself as the Confederacy, I guess. Democrats, I suppose, haven't really changed all that much since the 1860s. Everything the left has claimed about Republicans. They violate people's rights. They are modern-day Confederates. They caused an insurrection. Well, it seems that they themselves have come to embody all of those things. Don Lemon clearly violated the civil rights of the people in that church. It's on tape, really no question about it. And Tim Walz, joined by more than a handful of other Democrats in and out of Minnesota, are clearly wanting to spark a national insurrection against the federal government. This is the modern left. They want blood. They want to break the rules. They want a violent confrontation, complete with casualties and an apparent break with the federal union. All because Trump is the president. And they said that Republicans were the election deniers. Give me a break. This is the Scott Jennings Show on Salem.